The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters of Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. We have a very special guest for you today, Matias Baker Masucci. He is a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Beverly Hills on the Sanborn Team. Matias, he actually focuses on probate, trust, and conservatorship real estate services. Welcome to the show, Matias. How are you?
I am doing very good. It's a pleasure to be here, Tim.
Oh, fantastic. Love having you. So, let's do this. Let's just start at the beginning. You have quite an interesting backstory, in doing my due diligence on what you've done. Tell us how you got started. Well, where you're from, that's the most interesting part there. And then how you got started and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Italy. I came to the United States when I was 18, which was 23 years ago. So I consider myself an Angelino by now because I've lived
Right?
here a long time. I came here I did not have a childhood dream to be a realtor.
Right.
As a child, actually, I wanted to be an archaeologist, but I ended up coming here for an internship in the entertainment industry.
Okay.
And I worked for 2 years in the entertainment industry, and then as it is in Los Angeles, and then a few years after that, and then slowly transitioned into real estate in 2004. And I've been in real estate ever since. First, it wasn't a complete transition. It was like, I'm going to do a little bit, and then slowly it became my full-time job.
Yeah. A lot of folks, it seems, one of the beautiful things, and also one of the daggers of real estate is you can dip your toe in the water, right? I mean, you can try it a little bit. But I think that also leads sometimes to a lot of failure for people who could be successful if they take that plunge. But sometimes you do it that way, and that's the best possible way to do it, right? I mean, you get your feet wet, and then you get to make that decision. I talk to people, 4 or 5 people a day, and I hear that story quite often. So tell me about that transition. Were you an independent when you first started out? I know you went from the entertainment industry, you moved over.
Yeah, so I worked. So the internship I came here to do was with director Gary Marshall. He's passed away since, but he was my mentor.
Wow.
And a great influence in my life. I worked directly. I was very blessed because not many people know that, but he was Italian. His last name was actually Masciarelli, not Marshall. So he was a great. I mean, just to give you an idea, I don't remember. I arrived in LA, and 2 days later, what I was doing was delivering script pages to Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews. That's kind of like I always make that. And the first craft services. I mean, I know that if you're not in California, you're not going to think this is great, but it was In-N-Out and Krispy Kreme, and I was like, okay, I could live with that. I could live with that.
Let me tell you, buddy. I lived in Ventura for quite some time, which isn't Beverly Hills, but I also lived out in the West in Arizona for 10 years, and Krispy Kreme and In-N-Out are landmarks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the transition into real estate happened really because I had friends who were actors. They still are actors. That because I was in the entertainment industry, they started investing. It was really cool in the early 2000s to start invest in purchasing apartment buildings.
Yes.
And one thing led to another, and somebody was like, "Hey, you're really good with numbers and things. Are you interested in managing an apartment building?" And I was like, that's an interesting question to ask somebody at a party. But only in Hollywood, right? And I was like, you know what, I'll think about it. And then one thing led to another. And, I took on, property management, and then obviously, worked with investors that were active, so they acquired new properties, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, definitely I started independent. To answer your question, as an independent, I started representing basically an investment trust, and I was acting on behalf of the principal. How it's a little bit different when you're in acquisition and management, and then eventually transition, and to the point of what we started. This is like an important thing that I wanted, like I dip my toe in it slowly, but there's no chance of success in this business unless you dive 100% and you have tunnel vision. Like for me, things really started clicking when I took it with the mentality of an athlete, even though I'm not an athlete, but like I find it very inspiring to watch documentaries of people like who achieve great feat, like in whatever sports they are, but the kind of dedication you need that to, at least in my market, in my business, you stand no chance of like success unless you really become obsessed with getting really good at what you're doing. It's really vital. It's really important.
Yeah, I love that anecdote, Matias, because I don't think people realize. I was speaking with someone from Laguna Beach earlier today, and he was saying, they don't realize really how hard this is, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean the facade that sometimes Hollywood can portray for a realtor is, hey, I just get a listing and I sell a $10 million home and I'm scot-free. And it doesn't work like that, right? I mean,
not at all.
You have to learn so many facets, and I'll let you expound on that, but negotiation skills and and how to actually set a home and how to draw people. It's different than selling a box home, in say middle America anywhere for 300,000-400,000.
Yeah, I mean, the price range definitely has an effect of what the client's expectations are.
Yes.
But something that I've noticed is that, like, even if you don't take care of every aspect of your business, you should know how to handle every aspect of your business. It's really important. Like a lot of agents, you should have a transaction coordinator. You should have, an admin. You should have a listing administrator. You should have a runner. You should have a showing agent. God bless you if you can have all of them.
Right.
Until you do, you better be knowing these things in and out and be able to handle them yourself. I don't think people should get bogged down into doing everything single a step of the transaction, but you should know about it, because it's going to be that kind of expertise serves your client very well. In my state, in California, we have just like in every state, we have, the residential purchase agreement.
Yes.
And one thing I do it to this day. It's no joke. I read the residential purchase agreement once a year.
Oh,
I know that's kind of silly, but you sit down and my
Yeah.
wife looks at me across the bed and she goes, "You are just obsessed with this stuff, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes."
Yes.
You read it and you familiarize yourself with little nuances which are called upon in transactions all the time.
Sure.
And people who are in the business a long time have a tendency to forget that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So was that the impetus, looking for, and I'm going to just, for lack of a better phrase, the team aspect. I know you joined Berkshire Hathaway Beverly Hills, the Sanborn team. Is that kind of the impetus for it, as you were looking for that broader swath of professionals who had the same goals in mind?
Yeah, I think so. So my story is that first I was in the Los Feliz office at Berkshire Hathaway, and then as it is with all big corporations, and I'm really happy with the brokerage I'm with, but they had to downsize, so they closed the Los Feliz office. And one of the options they gave us, I mean, obviously, they give you, do whatever you want, you can leave and et cetera. You know how brokerages are, but they say, you can either go to the Pasadena office, which is further, east, or you can go west. And I'd already thought about going west in general. That was already one of my point. I've lived for 14 years in the Hollywood Hills. And my wife was starting to say, these ain't the best neighborhood to raise our kids. And when you're a single guy living in Hollywood, it's great to be,
It's the place
down
to
the
be,
street,
man.
up the street from the clubs, up the street. It was great. And
Just
then
go down
at some point,
and there you go.
Yeah. And then at some point you have kids and your wife is thinking, drunken people sleeping on the streets outside our house is not probably the best scenario. So I was already half moving west.
Yeah.
And then it all happened at the same time. And then, yes. And just joining the team happened sort of serendipitously. I'll try to shorten the story, but when I first joined Berkshire Hathaway, they don't do that anymore, but this is actually really, if anybody that runs a brokerage is interested in this, this is a really good thing that they did. They had top producing agents teach each one of the classes when they put you in through the when they onboard you for the brokerage. So I got to meet, in every single office there's a top producer, and I got to meet all the top producers. And when Nancy Sanborn, which is my team lead now, walked in, one of the things she said, I am from the Beverly Hills office, but that's just an address, not a state of mind. Okay, so she was making a point about, like the 90210 TV shows, how Beverly, she was very humble and very humble and down to earth. So when I moved to Beverly Hills, one day she just came up to me and I remembered her. We had actually tried to do a deal. I had reached out to her about an apartment building she had for sale before, and just came up to me and said, what do you think about joining a team? And it never really occurred to me, even though I thought it would be a good idea, because I've always been the Lone Ranger in my life, like until, and I have to say that, adjusting to the team culture and all of that has been very helpful. And then, becoming a partner now, we have just, three of us are partners in the team. It's been definitely shaping my business, and it's been helping me become more aware of myself, I should say, less impulsive, because you have partners to account for, account to, to answer to, and
accountability.
Try to make all decisions. I mean, I am addicted to work. I don't know if, so I do work all the time. That's one thing. And even helping the other way, like, like you have partners where they can say, like, look, take the weekend off. Like, I mean, I just, for your listeners, they may get a kick out of this if they're real estate professionals. In 2019, prior to the lockdown, I did 54 open houses in 1 year, 2019. Wow. So there's 52 weeks in a year. So I did more.
Quick math here.
So there's more than the weeks in a year, because sometimes I would do Saturday, right? Some weekends I skip. And that really, being in front of so many people, it's really, really helpful. And I do, like this year, I'm probably going to do like 35. When by the time the year is over, it's probably going to be 35, 40 open houses. For me, that's great, because you have a percentage, of how many people you have to meet before you convert, right? We all have that number.
Sure.
And so the more the merrier, I guess, in that sense. So
let me ask you this, and this is not the direction I was originally going to go, but since you told that great story about the volume of open houses, when you do that kind of volume, how are you getting people to the open house? And is it, is it just because the market's so vibrant that, it's kind of like build it and they will come? Or is it you've got a system in place to get them there? And I'm just curious. It's more curious.
No. It's a great question. 2021, 2020, half of 2020 and 2019 was built it and they come. I mean, we are very aggressive with our pricing. We don't. One thing that if I can give the advice is, don't chase the market. Don't chase it up and don't chase it down. Don't chase it up and don't chase it down. So we never try. We try to be very aggressive with our pricing, and we have built enough confidence into our clients that they listen to us. And we try not to buy listings, because if somebody's having multiple listing appointments and a house it's worth, I don't know, I'll throw in just a number, 5 million, and somebody goes in and an agent says, I could get you 7 million for your house. Well, that's a bit dishonest, number one.
Sure.
And that's kind of like what we call like buying the listing. And we never do that. We never do that. We always say, like, look, pricing for us is just a marketing tool. Nobody knows what the market value of your property is until you find an arm's length transaction with somebody that's willing to pay the money that you're willing to, nobody knows. People don't understand the difference between appraisal, market value, and the price that you put, the listing price. They're different things. An appraisal, a listing price, and market value are three different things. If you can educate your client to understand the difference between the three, it will make your life so much easier.
Yeah,
so much easier.
I think transparency is paramount, and
Yeah.
that's the only way you build a proper reputation. So let's segue that into kind of what your specialty is, probate.
Yeah.
So let's talk about first, how did you get into that area of real estate? And then, talk a little bit about the functionality of it.
So my partner's Nancy, my partner, she's been doing it since the 80s. And, Brian, my other partner, he's been doing it since the early 2000s. It's a big spoke of our business. I would say maybe 70 to 80% of our business comes from trust and probate. It happened organically in my case because they were already doing trust and probate transactions, and I kind of followed how you go about, developing the skills necessary to do trust and probate. And basically, when you do trust and probate, your business generally has to be a B2B kind of business, meaning that other trusted advisors will refer business to you. So we're talking about probate attorney, estate planning attorney, professional fiduciaries, successor trustees, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the people that seek out real estate professionals who know how to sell assets to trust and probate. The mechanics can get quite complicated. Some of the sales need to be court confirmed in court, so you have to do everything that is necessary so that the judge will approve the sale. I always used to make the joke, now it's no longer the case as much, but I used to make the joke when I met an attorney. I was like, I bet I spend more time in court than you do, because unless you're a probate litigator, estate planning attorneys don't really go to court that much.
They don't even have to go to court, right?
Yeah. And on the other hand, when we do 30, 40 court confirmed sales a year, we got to be in court for each one of them.
Sure.
So we spend a lot of time going downtown LA and confirming the sales. And there's just a lot of nuances that you have to do to protect. Mitigating risk is very important in what I do, because some of these sellers, if it's a professional fiduciary, they have never lived in the house.
Right.
They've never lived in the piece of real estate. They don't know anything about it. And they're just doing their job to get the most money for the beneficiaries, whoever may benefit from the estate. Sometimes because of the market that I'm in, there's very large estates in Beverly Hills and in all of Los Angeles for that matter. And some of these estates have a lot of money that's going to charity, so you have to make sure that you're doing the best for the client, which is the seller itself, for the beneficiary of the estate, who is whoever's getting the money. Sometimes, Tim, I could tell you stories of having to track people who inherit money they don't even know. Sometimes the public administrator has to look for somebody who is connected, the next of kin to the seller, and these people, like somebody lives in Brazil, they never heard of the person and end up inheriting $1 million. That's that stuff happens.
Any day that's going to happen to me, Matias. Any day.
Yeah, there you go. That's the spirit. That's the spirit.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Is the majority of fiduciaries and beneficiaries probably don't even live in California, or if they do, they're not in Los Angeles, and probably certainly not Beverly Hills, or you probably wouldn't even be part of it, because the fiduciary would be right there, and so would the beneficiary. So how is it dealing with out of state? I guess some of the fiduciaries are there in state, but when you have to deal with the beneficiary who say might be still in New York or down here in Florida, how does that work for you guys? And is that a logistical nightmare, or do is there something?
Thank you from the lockdown and the pandemic somehow helped us, with Zoom and things that before we had to do over the phone. Now it's easy to, to share a screen and show them the offers that come in and set up more of a rapport from people who are out of state. Generally speaking, a lot of the larger estates generally have they retain a law office which is in the vicinity of the property. So it would be like, a firm that it's in Los Angeles. We have seen we see this, quite frequently. Somebody lives in New Hampshire, and they are, they could be the adult children of the person who passed, and they no longer in Los Angeles and whatnot. So for us, when it comes to dealing with somebody who is remote, communication is key. And
Yes.
we have the technology to do that now. We have the technology to take pictures and share photos. Look, the house has been cleaned. We put a lockbox over here. These are just like simple example. But the ivy was cut, the tree was removed. Like
Right.
now it's like this. All of those things, we take advantage of technology to make people feel like they are, like there's not much of a distance. And one thing that I've learned during my career is that it's not enough to work really hard for your clients. You also have to let them know that you're working
Yes.
really hard. I know this sounds, I hope it comes across the right way, but you gotta let the seller know what you're doing, because a lot of what we do is automatic and it happens in the background and they're
Yeah.
not aware of it,
I think it's magic.
Right.
Yeah.
So you gotta let them know what you're doing to mitigate the risk, to make things easier, and to basically see the process through to a successful completion, essentially.
Do most of the beneficiaries, Matias, do most of the beneficiaries just want a quick sell? I mean, is that a big part of it? I mean, I've
It
never.
depends. It
Yeah.
depends by the amount of emotion that's involved. So a trust department, who is in charge, they have an obligation, obviously, a fiduciary obligation to get the most possible money, however they go about it. And you have to remember this is another aspect that's very important. They also have to protect themselves if somebody comes back and says, look, years later, it says, did you make an effort? Did you make enough of an effort to get the most money? They want a simple transaction. That's what they want. They all want a
Yeah.
simple transaction. It
Makes
depends
sense.
by the amount of emotion that's involved. Like a lot of the single family residents we sell, the successor trustee, the most common, is an adult child of the person, of the parent who passed away.
Yes.
So a lot of these people grew up in the house. So they have an emotional attachment in that sense. It's the home they grew up in,
Yeah.
When we deal more with attorneys or professional fiduciaries who have been hired, either appointed by the court or hired by the estate, generally speaking, they do want to see, they want proof of marketing. They want exposure, something that we do that is unique. And if we price aggressively, chances are somebody will call, within 45 minutes of going on the market.
Wow.
And say, I have an offer right now. Can you take it off the market if I send you this offer for this amount? And our answer is no, almost always. We want to give a property exposure. Now, this is the type of market where you can do that,
Yeah.
and we want to keep a property on the market and make sure there's exposure, so we can show the court and we can show our clients all the efforts that have been made, the digital ads, you
Yes.
name it, that have been the open houses, the brokers open, all the efforts that has been made to market the property to as many people as possible. So we do that, and that's important. So a quick sale is very rarely the case. There are cases where you really need to close fast. The estate has no money. There is a reverse mortgage. You got to get this thing sold, and you got to get it sold fast. We deal with those situations. They depend on circumstances, and when they do happen, we act accordingly. We know how fast they need to, but we still do everything we can to get the most possible.
You kind of still have to go through all those processes, just in an expeditious sort of way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, hey, that's been some eye-opening stuff. I talked to different areas of the country, and some other folks that do probate, and there's a different story everywhere you go.
Oh,
but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So, we're kind of winding down, and I want to give you the last word. If there's anything that you'd like to say, or anything that we didn't cover, I'll let you have the floor.
Well, I mean, I guess we didn't cover the fact that I got 4 kids, that I'm doing all of this.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My biggest achievement in life would be it's definitely fatherhood, being a father.
Yes.
Juggling my life as a broker,
Yeah.
and as a father. It's been quite the adventure. My kids are very young. They're 6, 4, 2, and 4 months, so they're all very like
man, those are good
We have-
times.
So whenever I'm not a glamorous Beverly Hills real estate agent, I change
Right.
poopy diapers.
Woo.
And
That's the real stuff.
yeah, that's the real stuff. So that's been like definitely a journey. It's forced me to grow up to grow as a person, and that is inevitably helped my business, and something that my children have taught me inadvertently, because they wasn't their intention to
Not
teach
like
it
they
to me,
know. Yeah.
but you have no choice. Is that I've learned to focus on the important and not the urgent. Because if you just start chasing, trying to put out fires all the time and things like that,
Yeah.
there's a lot of urgent things that come on your desk that really do not deserve your attention. And that's really shown, because with my kids, I have to be very careful how I use my time. So I wake up really early in the morning, because they wake up around 6:30, almost like inevitably. They have like an
Yes.
internal clock, 6:30 they're up. So I wake up around 4, so between 4 and 6:30, it's my time. That's my time to get my day started. Then we wake up at 6:30. I'm a dad, and I
Right.
help my wife make breakfast, etc. I drive him to school, which is something that I will never lose, because it gives me an opportunity to spend time with them.
Yeah.
And then 8:45, I'm in the office, so 8:45, 9 o'clock. So yeah, I guess when people say, how do you balance personal life and business, it's kind of meticulous scheduling.
Yeah.
There isn't really, I don't know if it's called a balance, but it's just like, you
I
got to schedule everything.
Yeah, I definitely, I no longer call it a balance, and you and I are kindred spirits. I have 4 children as well.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, thank you.
That's
But
awesome.
mine are, but I'll give you advice, Matias.
Yes, please.
Mine are much older, and I am much older than you. And all of mine range from 29 to down to 22.
Okay.
And so, and they're all men, all young men.
Oh,
And yeah, and he, I think they said it in a song. There was a song a long time ago that said it was like a country song or something. But you're gonna miss this, and so take the time that those drives to school and those cherished times that you really get to spend with them, and really soak it in and enjoy it. Because you will start missing it. And now I'm praying for the grandkids, right? Because I want to I
that's
want to go change
awesome.
poopy diapers again, as weird as it sounds. I want to get to that granular level with children again. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a father. I commend you on it, but it's not a what do we say, a balance? I call it just an integration.
Right, right.
It,
Good
it's
point.
yeah, it's just another part of your life that we handle. And it's it sounds like you're doing a great job at it. Now, Matias, how do we get in touch with you if someone wants to contact you? Maybe they have some probate issues out your way, or maybe they just want to, pick your brain or something like that. How do we get in
Absolutely.
touch with you?
Absolutely. I'm always available, and whether it's probate or standard sale in Los Angeles County, um, I really, really pride myself on the quality of jobs. So you can always reach me. My phone number is 310-776-5145. That's my business line, but you can text it as well. And if you want, the best way to keep in touch with me is through Instagram at Matias Broker, Matias, and the word broker, all without spaces. That's really a good way to keep in touch with me, because on my Instagram, I share about, a lot about my life, a lot about my
Yes.
kids. It's not just about the transaction. It's not, you'll never see me just do, like the glamorous thing that a lot of agents in my market may do, just sold, just listed, look at this fabulous marble
Right.
countertop, things like that.
Right.
So I'm very approachable, and if anybody does need help, even if they're agents and they have no, just want to pick my brain or anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I love to hear from people. And my email is mm@everyla.com, everyla.com.
Got it. Matias, thanks so much for your time today. We've enjoyed
Yeah,
having you on the show, and I really like the opportunity to maybe talk to you again sometime.
absolutely. I would love it. Thank you so much for reaching out. It's been a pleasure. Tim, I'm so glad you have 4 kids too. That's amazing. Like,
I know there's
they're
not
at different phase in their life, but you went
right.
through it. You went,
I was
they were all under 10 at some point.
They were. My kids were. I guess they call them a step ladder, or they were just like 2 by 2 by 2. Every
Yeah,
two
yeah.
years. My poor wife. I got married in 1992,
Uh-huh.
and and we had kids up until 2000. And she's
Wow,
like,
that's awesome.
do you realize, and she throws this at me, I was pregnant for
Through the 90s.
all the 90s, other than the first 2 years before we were even married, and
Yeah,
she's
that
like,
is
I was
awesome.
constantly pregnant. And I
Yeah,
was like, yeah.
yeah, that is
I'm
awesome.
thinking, what do I say? Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, that's all
yeah,
you can say. Thank you.
yeah,
But,
exactly.
good
Well,
stuff,
let me
buddy.
just say,
Yeah, go
let
ahead.
me thank you for doing this, because our industry is definitely, for me, in my experience, has been an industry of giving. Real estate agents, I found that when you're humble and you just reach out to people, and it's been so. Thank you for highlighting, people who are doing well in the business, because it's mentorship and that kind of process. It's been so important. And I love real estate podcasts. I love to listen to other agents' experiences, because they're all different,
Sure.
and I always take something away from it that makes my business a little better. So I hope that I've given something that
Fantastic.
other agents can use, and I will adjust as much as I take. So
Oh,
yeah.
for sure. For sure. Hey, maybe we should start the Fathers of Four podcast.
Beautiful. Fine.
Fathers of Four. Tonight at 6.
There you go. We should put it out and see how many we can find. How
Hey,
many people we can find.
I'll bet you a lunch that there'll be people who'd listen for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matias, have a great rest of the week.
Thank
Like I
you.
said, I look forward to talking to you again, and
Absolutely.
just enjoy and bless you.
This has been a pleasure. Yes, thank you, Tim.
Okay, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.